everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be redrawing my daughter Emery's drawing of a fairy. And I'm doing this for the Proko challenge this month, which if you don't follow Proko, you should. He has awesome videos. And then every month he does these challenges. Last month I participated in the monster one, which was super fun. And this month it's redraw your kid's artwork. And I love these challenges because they just, sometimes the hardest part is figuring out what to draw, and then once you understand that, or once you know that, you can be really creative with it. So sometimes it's really nice when somebody tells you what to draw, and then you can use all your creativity to come up with something cool. So to do this drawing, I'm using just regular old BIC pens, and I think that's a challenge in and of itself, but I actually like drawing with BIC pens. I used to draw with BIC pens all the time as a kid, as I'm sure many of you have. So I had filled up my 60-page white paper sketchbook, and I switched over to my tried and true old tone tan paper sketchbook, and I picked up a cheap bag of BIC pens in different colors just to kind of experiment a little bit. So my next sketchbook tour is going to be all BIC pen sketches, which is going to be different, but I really like these. They have some definite pros and cons to them. So one of the pros to these is you can actually shade similar to the way you would with pencil. You just, press lightly and then press a little bit harder and you get like a nice gradation. So that's kind of a cool thing. But then at the same time, you can kind of do a little bit of cross hatching and line work in there as well. So that's another pro. It has its own unique look to using BIC pens. One of the cons definitely is that you can't erase. I mean, it's pen. So you kind of have to be pretty confident with what you're doing. But, as long as you got a pretty good idea in your head, or you're pretty used to drawing, first pass type stuff. And that's a lot of what I've been doing recently with pen and ink. So, these are much easier as far as first pass than just your standard brush pen with black ink. You can kind of draw pretty lightly and then go over the top with maybe darker strokes to kind of sure things up a little bit, and that hides a lot of maybe mistakes you might make. But you kind of have to get the whole form down pretty well on your first pass. So after I saw Emery's completed drawing, I didn't want to get too much information from her, even though she stood over me and told me what everything was and what she was drawing. But because I really wanted to kind of just interpret what she drew, but she didn't allow that too much. But I felt like we came up with, her idea, but with my hands kind of thing. I tried to stay pretty true to what she was drawing. Sometimes I feel like when I asked her about the wings, they were green and stuff. I'm like, are those leaf wings? And she's like, they're like butterfly leaf wings. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I thought that was pretty creative. And yeah, I feel like I could have, that's one thing, the wings, if I had thought how to structurally make those a little bit better, they could have turned out a little bit better. But overall, it's kind of an interesting drawing. And it's so much fun drawing your kids' art. I mean, for one, they absolutely love it. So Emery loves seeing kind of her drawing, but in my, having me do it. But at the same time, it's pretty funny because, she's like, I think I like mine better, Dad. I think you missed some stuff on this. And so she's pretty critical of my drawing. And I think in the end, she definitely liked hers better. So here you can see the two drawings side by side, and you can see that they're the same subject matter. I felt like I connected them pretty well, especially when you look at the details. So I like the way it turned out. So right here I actually decided to include some slow, to where you can actually see me drawing in closer to real time. This drawing took me about 45 minutes. To do. So it was a pretty quick drawing. Most of the artwork that I've done so far with the BIC pens goes by pretty fast. The first part of the drawing where I'm laying things out, I go a little bit slower, and I try and keep a pretty light hand when I'm drawing, just to kind of make sure I don't get too dark, because if I do mess up or if something's not quite looking right, I can kind of, fix that by a heavier line. But if I go real heavy or dark right off the bat, then I can't do that. And the other thing too is, going light first allows you to add value and kind of build that value up as you go along through the drawing. So when I'm drawing eyes like this or with a pencil, I like to draw a couple circles in like you saw me do right there. That helps me make sure both the eyes stay about the same size. And I like doing that because then you just draw in the eye within that circle and you don't get kind of wonky eyes where one's bigger than the other. You can kind of keep them, symmetrical to some degree. And even as dark as those circles seem, the eye is a socket, and so those dark areas, especially on the top part of the eye, like on the top of that circle, you won't even notice those once I finish off the eye. It just looks right because those are the recesses of the eye anyway. So right here, I'm kind of doing the hair, and I'm still I kind of winged this thing for the most part. I was looking at her drawing, trying to decipher, is that hair or a leaf? Did she color that with skin color on purpose? So I was still deciding things as I was drawing. I don't a lot of times have that stuff figured out until I actually draw it. So right here, I skipped ahead and thought I'd show you guys how I add highlights, which is one of the things with any drawing that really makes it pop. So you can either add highlights with a jelly pen, which I've used in my sketchbook. You'll see those in my sketchbook tour, or Prismacolor white color pencil on tone tan paper is, it's awesome. I mean, I've used it forever. I love adding highlights. You can get real smooth with it. So it's great, and it just really makes those highlight areas on the drawing on that tone tan pop out. So I always like to show you guys how I do that because it really can make a drawing by adding those highlights. Well, that's the video, guys. I hope you liked it. I've been thinking about doing some more real-time stuff like the last part of this video. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. Also, if you guys are participating in this challenge, I'd love to see your guys' versions of your interpretations. And yeah, let me know also if you've ever used BIC pens, because I love them. I think they're really fun to draw with. So I'd be curious to know what you guys use to draw like this, or if you've used BIC pens in the past to draw. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.